good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, the good people of the tube. Hope you're all today, hope you're feeling grand and all is well in your world. I can't say! Anyway, hello there. And, yes, hi. Welcome to another Q&A Wednesday, everybody. Question 1. I didn't know where I was going there for a second. Anyway, yeah, so question 1 today is... Can you recommend a practice method which allows me to play across the fretboard using pentatonic positions? I've spoken about this before. What I would recommend is learning guitar solos that go across the fretboard. Songs like November Rain, Another Girl, Another Planet by the Own Ones has got an amazing guitar solo that spans the neck. Basically, what you want to be doing is just like thinking, like, instead of thinking like, just your pentatonics, just get the shapes and just go through them. Just kind of like, if you're in E minor, gradually just sit there and put the shapes together on one string. So like start on E minor. So we'll do the G string. So for instance, like with G string. So we'll put all the shapes together. So we'll start off an E minor pentatonic with the open G, and then we'll move up through the major pentatonic in position 3, 4, and 5, and basically you kind of get this. Now I've played up and down neck on one string. And then when you've pieced that string together and you know that string in E minor, so for instance, like I say, like, you know that shape. So now you know the notes that will work in E minor on that string up and down the fretboard. Go to your B string. So... and then learn your B string, and then combine them. Once you've got both of them under your finger, combine them. So go. So go from G to B, and then you can also do stuff like, yeah. So that's what I would say do. I mean, and it sounds quite musical as well. I've always felt playing across the neck instead of up and down the neck sounds more musical. There's something to playing that instead of, I don't know what it is. I went for the volume then. Did you see that, people of the tube? You're not even plugged in, Dave. It makes no difference. But yeah, just learn the strings up and down. So like, learn your E string, learn your A string, learn your D, G, B, and E. Just get those patterns till they fall onto your fingers, and then you can kind of, like I say, you can combine them. And then you can combine them, and then you're playing across the neck, and then you know these runs, which you can then use to create a solo up and down the neck. So, I mean, that's what I would recommend. Again... It's a thing that just takes a long time to get under your fingers. It really does take a long time, and especially learning it in every key. That's where the time. You can learn it in E. If you can learn those positions in E in maybe about a couple of months. Give or take. You could probably learn these runs on single strings in the key of E in a couple of months. And get them under your fingers and be confident with them to a point where you can look away. And they fall under your fingers. But learning them in every key is going to be a year thing. Yeah, it's going to take years to get them in every key. So at a moment's notice, you know the key of the song, you can then play up and linearly across the fretboard instead of just up and down the pentatonic shapes. But that's what I would recommend doing. Is just kind of learning individual strings and then piecing them together and then just using them to play across instead of up and down. Stop yourself totally. You know, the moment you feel yourself go like that, go, no, stop, and then go. Just keep moving, basically, all the time, like up and down the fret, but obviously give it space. Give yourself time to breathe. Slow blues backing tracks are great for this kind of exercise, and I would always recommend, once you've got these shapes, and you know them and they fall under your fingers just through muscle memory, you need to start using them to a backing track or a band, or in the band you're in, or with your mate who you jam with every Saturday night or whatever. You need to start using them practically. There's no good learning these things like that if you never use them practically, because they'll just disappear from your mind. If you start to use them practically, they become part of your playing, and you start to develop your own little kind of way of using them, so to say. So you start to kind of like create little licks and runs that are very your own. But again, you know, that takes years. That ain't going to happen in a week. It's definitely not going to happen in a day. It's not going to happen in a month. It's going to take years to develop that. But learn each string, so you kind of get those runs going up and down, and then use those runs and the notes you know work and the notes in the pentatonic scales to solo up and down. And like I say, the moment you start to feel yourself kind of falling back into pentatonic boxes, which isn't a bad thing, there's nothing wrong with pentatonic boxes at all, but if you want to learn to play up and down the neck, you kind of have to distance yourself from it for a while until you're where you want to be with the up and down, this, you know, across the neck instead of up and down the neck kind of thing. So that's what I'd recommend. Learn each string, on every string. Learn every string of what you can do run wise until you can kind of get like a whatever. There's silly little things like that, but you get these kind of like little kind of runs, and then you can start using them in a musical way to a backing track, or with your mates, or with your band, or writing your own solos, or whatever. You need to start using them into a practical sense. Once you've learned the theory side of it, which is kind of okay, so the G string's open, 2nd fret G string, 4th fret G string, 5th fret G string, 7th fret G string, 9th fret G string, 11th fret G string, 12th fret G string. Once you know the theory side of it, and if you want to know the notes, then, learn the notes as well. But once you've learned that, put that aside and start to use these shapes in a practical way. Don't just leave them to be theoretical, because theoretical doesn't translate into feel and being able to really express yourself, which is what the guitar and all musical instruments are all about. You want to be able to express yourself, and theory can bog you down with that. In my opinion, that's my opinion. I know some people will say I'm wrong, but that's fine. But in my opinion, I think theory gets in the way sometimes of feel. It really kind of like can stifle it. So not in everybody, but in quite a few people. So, like I say, learn every string, learn runs up and down, and then just play across. Just mess around, finding little nice runs like... Sounds like Richie Blackmore. But, stuff like that. And, just start incorporating them into your own playing in a practical sense, playing onto a backing track. And eventually, it'll all click and you'll be away with your own kind of style. Well, your own style, your own voicings and your own phrasing, so to say. You know what I mean? Because it develops your feel, and your feel develops you. And then when you develop, you have your own thing, which is really, really cool. And that's what we all strive for as a guitarist. And like I say, there's nothing wrong with emulating your heroes at all, because that helps as well. Because, like John Mayer said, and I always quote this, I think it's a brilliant quote, and it nails everything on the head. We sound like ourselves when we fail to sound like our heroes, and that is the perfect line for guitar playing. You always want to try and sound like your heroes, because in so doing, you will end up sounding like yourself. You know, it's really cool. You become an amalgamation of all your heroes. It's really, really cool. Okay, so I hope that's answered your question. I hope that's a good answer. If it's not, then I do apologise immensely. But like I say, that's what I would do. Is like, you know, start on like maybe not the low E string. Low E string doesn't. You don't really use the low E string a great deal with guitar solos. You do every now and again, but well, that's a lie, Dave, isn't it? You're being silly there. Yes, I do apologise. That's me being silly there. Learn all the strings. Learn all the runs on every string you can, and learn where you are, and then just play up and down, not up and down that way, up and down this way. And just, you know, you just got to mess around. You've just got to mess around. And the more you fail, the more you will learn. I always say that. I mean, it's really important to mess up, and mess up horrifically. If you're playing the solo up and down the neck, and then you're soloing away, and you think, I've got this, I can do it. And you get thrown off. Something throws you off, you know, a badger in a top hat or something. You know, something throws you off. That's good. You'll then learn to not do that again. Your brain will learn. You will learn. You know, and then you'll kind of like get a feel for what's right and for what's wrong. And then your feel develops over what you're thinking. And when your feel develops, that's when you start to be really part of the music and not seeing it from a technical aspect, as I say. So I hope that's answered your question. I hope that's good advice. I know, I'm terrified. First question and I'm already scared I've done something wrong. So I hope that answers your question. Moving on to question 2 now, everybody. So question 2 is, can you tell me what pickups were used to get these tones on? Okay, so there's a list of songs here, and this fellow wants to know what pickup was used to create that sound. So the first one is Jimi Hendrix's Little Wing. Right, Little Wing, the album version is out of phase. It's a combination of the neck and the middle. And it's basically kind of wedged. An interesting story, which I'll quickly scoot over, because, you know, tangent boy and all that. Interesting stories. Jimmy was one of the first people to use out of phase. In all fairness, I don't know of anybody who used that kind of like, you know, that position 4 and position 2 before Jimmy, actually. To be fairly honest with you, I don't know of anybody who was using that position. Maybe Eric Clapton. I don't know. But I know Jimmy was kind of like one of the first to really incorporate position 2 and 4. So basically either the bridge and the middle or the neck and the middle pickups. And what Jimmy used to do is on his strats, he would go into the scratch plate, and on the selector switch there's a little spring. And this little spring is basically kind of there to snap the selector switch into position. You know, it creates the tension, basically, so you can kind of put it in position. Jimmy would take that off. I don't know how he found out to do that, or whatever, or somebody showed him it, or whatever. But it was a mod he had done to his guitars that he did himself, or somebody did it for him. And in so taking that spring off, he could get these positions really easy. He could really easily wedge the selector switch to get position 2 and 4. Because those old three-way selector switches are really tough to get, the position 2 and 4, the out of phase positions, are really tough to get those positions because the spring just snaps them into 1, 2, or into bridge, middle, or neck. So what Jimmy would do, he'd go inside and take that spring off, and say taking that spring off just gave it so much more malleableness. That's not the right word, but you know, it was a lot easier to get it into position 4 and 2. So Little Wing was probably one of the first songs, dare I say, if not the first song. I don't know. That's a bit of a bold statement coming from somebody who doesn't know. But Little Wing is one of the one of the first songs to be recorded using position 4. So Little Wing is a combination of neck and the middle pickups. The album version, live, Jimmy would just use the neck pickup alone. I've only ever seen Jimmy use the out of phase position 2 and 4 live. He uses it at Woodstock in Red House a little bit. And he also uses position 4 in Hear My Train Coming at the Royal Albert Hall, and you can see there's great footage. I think there's still great footage on YouTube. It could have been taken down by now by the Hendrix estate because they're a bit funny about that kind of stuff. It's shocking how little Hendrix footage there is on YouTube now. There's like only a handful of videos, and there's basically no bootlegs, and there's none of this and the other. I'm not going to get into that. I'm very bitter about the Hendrix estate because I think they're just money grabbers. But anyway, that's another video for another time. Yeah, if you watch if it's still up, the version of Hear My Train Coming at the Royal Albert Hall, you can see Jimmy wedging the guitar. Now, is it position 2 or position 4? It's position 2. Sorry, I do apologise. He's wedging the guitar side switch into position 2, and he does it with so much ease because again that spring's not there, so it's just he just moves it into it, and then he uses out of phase for that song and that riff. So there's a bit of Jimmy out of phaseness for you, and I say he uses in Red House at Woodstock as well, a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. Okay, so yeah. Back to the question, everybody. Tangent boys, in effect, he'll come and ruin your day by not answering your question. Anyway, my theme tune. I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. Okay, so song 1 is basically Jimi Hendrix, Little Wing, position 4, neck and middle together. Wind Cries Mary is just the neck pickup alone. He doesn't change pickups at all. So the rhythm part and the guitar solo is all neck pickup. I'm going to have to do it again, everybody. Cool story about Wind Cries Mary. Wind Cries Mary was recorded on 4 tracks. It was a 4-track recording. So you had Jimmy's rhythm, Noel's bass, Mitch's drums, and then Jimmy's vocal. But then you say, oh, hang on a minute, how did they record the guitar solo then if it was only a 4-track? The guitar solo is on the vocal track, which is just wicked. I watched an interview with Eddie Kramer talking about it because they were like, Jimmy wanted to overdub the guitar solo. He wanted to keep rhythm track and he wanted to overdub the guitar solo. So they had to punch him in. Well, not punch him in, but when he did the vocals for Wind Cries Mary, he did the guitar solo at the same time. So the guitar solo you hear is actually on the vocal track, which is why it's quite prominent in the mix, because these vocals are quite prominent mix. So yeah, little interesting little Jimmy bit there for you as well. So, but yeah, Wind Cries Mary is all net pickup, but I think that's wicked. The fact it was a 4-track recording, so you had like Jimmy rhythm, Noel bass, Mitch's drums, and then you had Jimmy's vocal and guitar solo all on the same track. So cool. So cool. That kind of thing just makes me just like crazy. Okay, so next one is Jimi Hendrix's Purple Haze. What pickup was used in Jimi Hendrix's Purple Haze? I want to say neck pickup again, but I'm not 100% sure. Jimmy live would go between the two. It depended how I felt. I've seen him play Purple Haze solely on the neck pickup. I've seen Jimmy play Purple Haze solely on the bridge pickup. So the album version, because it's got a very kind of strange, kind of fuzzy kind of sound to it, I would probably say it's the neck. Just because it's got this kind of weird thing, and also because the guitar solo is an Octavia, and Octavia, or Octavio, the Octavia pedal, Jimmy preferred the Octavia, Roger Mayer preferred the Octavio, but Jimmy altered the name to Octavia because he liked that better. The Octavia pedals, those higher octave pedals, work better with a neck pickup. They don't really cut through and they don't really sound that way with a bridge pickup. So I would say Purple Haze is probably neck pickup. And I'm not 100% sure it's a Strat. Rumour has it it's a Telecaster. I've also read it was his Flying V, which he actually used in the video. His psychedelic painted Flying V, which was painted with nail varnish. Rumour has it Purple Haze was recorded with that as well, but we'll never know. But I would say it's probably neck pickup, the album version. But I'd say more than not live, it was bridge pickup. More than anything, most of the time it's bridge pickup live. Okay, so yeah, that's that one. Hey Joe, again, the next song is Hey Joe. That's just neck pickup as well. Okay, moving on to the next one is John Frusciante, my mentor. I don't know why I'm looking up there. He's not up there. He's not on the ceiling. I wish he was. He's not. It'd be a bit weird, actually. Why would John Frusciante be on the ceiling? He's some kind of, like, gremlin. Anyway, a bit weird, that. Anyway. I've lost it. I've lost the track. Okay, so, you want to know what John Frusciante's I Could Have Lied guitar solo tone was. John Frusciante's I Could Have Lied solo tone is neck pickup. And then you also asked what Under a Bridge. Under a Bridge is neck pickup. I Could Die For You is neck pickup. And Scar Tissue is neck pickup. Jimmy and John are big advocates of the neck single coil pickup. They use the bridge pickup as well a lot, but the neck pickup gets used tons. So yeah, I hope that's answered your question. It's mainly neck pickup, other than Little Wing, which is out of phase, and Purple Haze, which could be either bridge or neck. It doesn't really matter. Excuse me. So yeah, I hope that's answered your question. We're gonna move on to question 3 now. Excuse me. Have you ever used a Marshall DSL 40C? No, I haven't. It's one of those amps that a lot of people have said I should try, but I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone who owns one. There's no guitar shops around here that has one for me to just have a go on, and I can't afford to buy one. So I haven't tried one yet. As I say, a lot of people have said, you need to try one. I think you'll like it, and this, that, and the other. So yeah, I can't. You asked what are my thoughts on it, and is it capable of a John Frusciante tone? I don't know. I'm sure it is capable of something, John-esque. I'm sure it's capable of quite a few things, and the videos I've seen of the demos of it, it proves to be it's a pretty versatile little amp. So yeah, I don't doubt for a second it could give you a John-esque kind of tone, but I can't talk from personal experience as I don't know. I haven't tried one yet, but hopefully at some point I can get my filthy little disgusting hands on a DSL and try one out, and and see what I think to it. But yeah, unfortunately I'm going to have to basically, I can't really comment much on that, because I haven't. It'd be very unfair for me to say, yeah, it does this, it does that, it does the other, when I don't actually know. I can't actually tell you for sure. So yeah, but I've heard, I hear good things about the DSL 40. So yeah, I'm sorry, that's not really a very good answer, is it at all? Really, sorry, I do apologise. But hopefully, in the future, I'll get my hands on one. My ears have started ringing. I think it's the guitar solo at the beginning of the vid. Okay, so moving on. Question 4. Sorry, I wasn't much of an answer about the Marshall DSL, was it? But like I said, I would rather not say if I haven't tried it myself. If I've tried an amp in the past or this, that, and the other, and somebody asks me about it, I'll give you my honest opinion. But if I've never tried it, I can't give you an honest opinion. It'd be unfair to you for me to say, oh yeah, it's amazing, when I've never tried it. It's not the thing to do. So I can't really answer that one very well. I mean, what I've seen of it sounds immense, but I don't honestly know. I haven't actually plugged into one myself. Okay, so I'm going to move on to question 4 now, everybody. Question 4. What's your opinion on American singer-songwriters such as Bruce Springsteen and Tom Petty? Well, they're brilliant. Bruce Springsteen and Tom Petty are incredible. Incredible songwriters, rhythm guitarists. Tom Petty was actually a really good lead guitarist as well. I've seen him do a couple of guitar solos. I'm like, that was wicked. Really kind of tasteful guitar playing. But I love Bruce Springsteen and Tom Petty. I love their songs. They're just incredible songwriters. Sorry about that, everyone. I have to go and get a drink. I had a bit of a coughing fit all of a sudden. So that was fun. Okay, so yeah, anyway. Back to question 4. Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty, yeah. They're legends because they're perfect at what they do, basically. Their songwriting and their song arranging and their use of everything. They're legends for a reason. Their songs are that good. They will never ever be forgotten. because of their music, and then they're just they're legends because their songs are so good. So yeah, I mean I really like them. I've got a little. I'm going to tell you this little story. Why not? It's a silly little story, but I'm going to tell you anyway. But yeah, Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty, and other, certain other American singer-songwriters are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And they say they're legends for a reason. These people got these places because, they're brilliant at what they do. Would they get anywhere today? Probably not. With the state of music, people like Tom Petty and Bruce Springsteen are probably brushed aside. Like a lot of artists, you probably won't get people like Woody Guthrie and Bob Dylan and people like Jimi Hendrix and people like that. You'd never see them in the mainstream today because it's not the thing right now. It's not the thing at all, So yeah, but yeah, amazing. Like I say, legends, absolute legends. It's up there unreal. So I've got a little story, but I'm going to talk about quickly before I go on to question 5. When I used to work in Old Hat, we would deal with some very interesting high up people. I remember emailing Peter Frampton, bit weird, very, very, very weird, about we had a Marshall 50-watt small box, Marshall 50-watt small box plexi with its matching cabinet. This guy had bought it. I forget the year of it. I don't know. It was a late 60s plexi panel though. This guy had bought this amp and never used it, so it was in pristine condition, and we had it in a flight case upstairs so it didn't get damaged. It was just out of the way. I got to play through it a couple of times, and it was just stunning, absolutely stunning. But Peter Frampton wanted it. He found out through whoever he finds out through that we had this 50-watt Marshall plexi from the 60s in mint condition with its matching salt and pepper grill 412 cabinet, which was horrifically heavy. My JSM 900 cabinets, I can lift them on my own, but the old Marshall cabs, good gravy, they're horrifically heavy. They're horrible to lift up and move around, especially when you try to climb upstairs with them. They're not fun. But yeah, Peter Frampton messaged us. He wanted that, and basically the owner of Old Hat wasn't willing to sell him it, which to this day I still don't understand why. So yeah, I had to email Peter Frampton saying, "I'm sorry, we can't sell you this amp," which was not very fun. But one of the people we dealt with was a guy in America, and I forget his name now. It was years ago since I left Old Hat, so I don't remember his name. But we dealt with a guy in America who dealt with all sorts of artists, like Peter Frampton and all sorts of people, and we had got a shipment of old Vox amps in, and they were smooth Tolex. We had a red one and we had a black one. And they were smooth Tolex. They were like the old Marshall Plexi style Tolex. And Vox did that for a while. There's only a certain amount of them made apparently. I think they were just called smooth Tolex Voxes or something. I don't know. But anyway, we had a red one, and again it was an amazing, a proper amazing Vox AC. It was just like when you plugged into it and wound it all the way to the top, it was just that classic Vox tone. But it was just like whoa. And it's just immense. It just sounded like Brian May when you just cranked it. It sounded immense. Anyway, this dealer in America who he dealt with was in contact with somebody in contact with Tom Petty. And this guy had told Tom Petty that he knew of somebody who knows of somebody who's got one of these red smooth Tolex Vox AC30s vintage. It was in mint condition as well, absolutely mint condition. It was just like it had never been used. Oh, it hadn't. We got these two Voxes from the original owner. They'd never been out of his house. Anyway, Tom Petty asked if he could view it. And when they told him it was in England and he was in America, it was like, oh, great, what are we going to do? So this guy who we used to deal with contacted us on behalf of Tom Petty, saying, could you, on your YouTube channel, please do a demo of a Red Vox AC30 using a 60s Telecaster, and we need to hear it clean and wound all the way to the top. So I did a video for this Telecaster, knowing full well that I was going to get watched by Tom Petty, who wanted to see the amp. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying, everybody. I don't know why I'm telling you this story. I don't know why. It just came up because of Tom Petty. But yeah, so I had to do this video with a 60s Telecaster, which we had plenty of, luckily. And I demoed this Red Vox AC30. And to this day, it's like one of my, like, you know, little claims to fame that Tom Petty viewed my video. He messaged us back. Well, he didn't himself, but his kind of like whoever was, you know, his go-to person. They emailed us after the video saying, yeah, we'll have it. But then the owner of Old Hat decided, no, I'm not selling it. You know, it was just ridiculous. We had Peter Frampton wanting an amp that we said, you know, then he wouldn't sell it. And then we had Tom Petty wanting an amp, and then we wouldn't sell it. And it was just like, it wore very thin very quickly. But my claim to fame is that Tom Petty viewed one of my videos at some point just to hear what this Vox AC30 sounded like. And it's still a shame that, especially because he's not around anymore, because it was going to be a deal, because we're actually in talk after the video, and he said he wanted the amp after hearing it. We were in a deal to, what was going to happen was Tom Petty was going to buy the amp, and he was also going to give us some kind of memorabilia, like stuff he had it was either going to be clothes he had worn on tour that were iconic, or song pages of songs he had written, like, you know, A4 sheets of, well, bits of paper he had written song lyrics on. And they were going to go in our museum that we were building at the time. And I thought that was like the best thing in the world. I mean, I would have, being myself, I know, in fact, I would have travelled miles to see that stuff. But then the owner of Old Hat changed his mind last minute, and we had to email him back saying, sorry, he's not willing to sell it now. And it was just a bit silly, because he said he would sell it, and then we got this deal sorted, and then he changed his mind. And that's that. Anyway, silly tangent story over. But again, my little claim to fame, everybody. I'm very proud of that. But I don't know why I had to tell you that story. I just felt like it. But if you go back in time into the Old Hat videos and see a red smooth Tolex AC30 with a Telecaster, that video was for Tom Petty. He was very specific about what he wanted to see in that video. It was like, it had to be a 60s Telecaster. I don't know why I said black. It was a black Telecaster we used, but it had to be a 60s Telecaster. It couldn't be a 50s or a 70s or an 80s or a modern Telecaster. It had to be a 60s one. Didn't matter what year, as long as it was a 60s one. And it had to be. You had to show it on all the pickups, and you had to show it clean and wound up to the top. You know, it had to be that kind of thing. To, you know, and he wanted it. You know, wanted to hear the vibrato and all that kind of stuff as well. So it was very, very kind of like, I want to hear this, and it was awesome. So yeah, very cool. Anyway, I don't know. I'm going to move on now. I'm going to stop boring you to tears. Okay, good. Question 5, everybody. Question 5 is, what do you think of? I have no idea how to pronounce this properly, so I'm just going to butcher it. What do you think of Pau Ferro Fretboards? I don't know if that's how you say it. Pau Ferro? It looks like it to me. I don't know. And how do you like compared to rosewood boards? I don't really get that hung up on that kind of thing. My Revelations have a fretboard. The Revelations I've got, my thin line and my quad, their fretboards are lignum rosa wood. They're not rosewood. And if you look really closely, they've got this really cool, wood grain that's really, really, really posh. It looks posh. It's kind of like wood grain that goes in a line up the fretboard. It's really, really cool. But you wouldn't know it's not rosewood, and it doesn't feel any different. I mean, I don't know about kind of sound kind of. I don't really kind of get hung up on that kind of thing. I've never tried one of these Pau Ferro Fretboards before, because they're mainly on the kind of new Fenders and Gibson, I think, use them. But I actually tried a guitar with them on. But personally, I don't. Like again, so I can't really comment 100% because it's like the Marshall DSL. I haven't tried it, so I can't really say. But I don't really get hung up on details like that because at the end of the day, if you pick up a guitar and it just feels good, it sounds good, it does what you want it to do, it speaks to you, it responds the way you want it to, it just becomes you. Then regardless of what it's made out of, it's a good guitar. You know, it could be plywood, bodied cheapo Strat. But if it talks to you and it really speaks to you and sounds amazing and really, really works for you, then it's a good guitar. You know, I don't really... And at the end of the day, I love guitars full stop, so I don't really... If it's got 6 strings on it and it plays and it makes a noise, then, you know, I'm very happy. I'm not very picky when it comes down to stuff like that. As long as it sounds good and I can feel the guitar, you know, as long as it kind of like it reacts with me in a positive way, then, you know, I don't really care what it's made out of or you know what the materials are, or what the pickups are, if they're ceramic or this, that, and the other, or what the wire is, or what the pots are, or this, that, and the other. You know, a good guitar is a good guitar at the end of the day, regardless of what it's made out of or what it says on the headstock or whatever. You know, it really is. So, I never tried one of those guitars with a Pau Ferro fretboard. Like I say, I have, you know, my Revelations have Lignum Rosa fretboards, and they're just, you know, I don't feel, hear, or whatever. There's no real difference to them or Rosewood, if I'm being perfectly honest. You know, I suppose I've seen some of Anderton's videos with the whatever, that word I can't pronounce, the fretboards on Stratocasters. It's a lighter kind of brown wood, and it does look like it's a Stratocaster that's kind of like its neck's dried out, so to say. Because you always associate Stratocasters with kind of like black kind of rosewood, really, really kind of black brown of rosewood, because because that Brazilian rosewood and all that kind of thing, it goes really dark. The more you play it, the more the oils from your fingers get in the wood, the wood darkens off. And they do kind of look like they've been kind of dried out, kind of the Pau Ferro fretboards. But I've never tried one, so I can't honestly say if I like it or I hate it or I like the feel of it or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. People of the tube, have you tried a Pau Ferro fretboard, and what did you find out? Did you like it? Did you hate it? If you hated it, why? If you liked it, why? You know, was there any kind of like, you know, difference between it and rosewood? Okay, so like I said, I don't really get hung up on those kind of details. I love guitars for what, you know, for whatever they are, kind of, so to say. If it's a good guitar, I love it. Yeah, so I have to connect with it. If you connect with it, I'm a happy little bunny. Okay, so you also asked, how did I learn Red Hot Chili Peppers songs? Was it by ear or songbooks/tab? When I first started, the first year of playing guitar, my brother bought the song tab book for By the Way, and By the Way had just come out. And yeah, I used that for a while. But I didn't know at that point I was dyslexic, and it used to take me so long to learn songs. It wasn't actually until maybe 3 years. I want to say 3. Is that right? Yeah, maybe about 3 years into playing, when I started to get into Jimi Hendrix. I remember I learned All Along the Watchtower through I had the Jimi Hendrix book. It was the Greatest Hits tab book. I've still got it. It's massive, amazing book. And I was learning All Along the Watchtower, and it took me all night to learn All Along the Watchtower. And it used to take me a long time to learn songs from tab, and I never understood why. I just struggled to see tab, and I struggled to follow music, and I was just like, I can't do this. And I didn't know why at that point, because I'd never been diagnosed with being dyslexic at that point, so it's kind of mad. I've been all the way through school and never got caught out. Never got found out I had dyslexia. Anyway. it wasn't until I say learning all on the Watchtower, and I remember like thinking to myself after learning it all note for note from this book, thinking there's got to be a quicker way to learn songs. There's got to be a quicker way. So the next day, what I thought I would do is I thought I would learn Purple Haze by ear, not the solo. Just, I mean, I knew the chords because someone had shown me them, but I wanted to learn the riff, by ear. So I set out on a little quest, basically, and I thought, right, I'm going to try and learn it by ear. And within, like, maybe half the time of learning all on Watchtower, I had learnt the riff to Purple Haze. I had figured it out. So I was like, well, that was quicker. So then I started trying to figure out songs by ear, and that was what got me down that road. And I was like, and then I developed this technique of finding all the chord root notes on the low E string, and then piecing the chords together. And then I would start to kind of like do that. And so when it came down to the Chili Peppers stuff, I started to figure it out by ear. And as soon as I kind of got a bit more competent with ear training, it took me years to be able to be really comfortable with learning by ear. I could get it, but it wasn't great. It wasn't precise when I first started doing it, but after a year of doing it, it got more precise, and after another year, it got more precise, and after another year, it got even more precise. And I'm still kind of working it now. I'm still not great at learning things by ear because it's a constantly evolving thing that you learn. You can't just learn to play by ear in a year or 2 or 5. It takes a long time to learn by ear. To be able to kind of listen to something and go, right, okay, I think he's doing this, and then if you're right or you're wrong. So after I'd learned Purple Haze by ear, I learned a couple of other songs by ear. I figured out Can't Stop by ear, and also I had a video which helped out no end of a Top of Pop special with Chili Peppers, and I saw John playing Can't Stop. It was a bit funny though, because John plays Can't Stop in a really strange way. He kind of keeps, when he does that first riff, he keeps his first finger on the 7th fret on the A string, the E note. He keeps it there. It's really kind of he does it in a very kind of funny manner. It took me a while to understand how he was doing it, to figure it out. And I was kind of watching him and going, right, well, where is he and what are the notes? Because you couldn't, it was VHS video. It wasn't as pinprick perfect as DVD is to see. So it was hard to pick out. He had his 50s strat as well. He had maple neck, which made it even harder. And I just figured it out. And then I figured out the chorus. And I didn't know this chord. So I referred back to the tab book to get that chord. And I was like, oh, that's the chord. Because I had it just as that, which is just a C major. But it's actually not. It's actually that chord. But I went back to the tab book for that one just to cross-reference, just to make sure I was playing the right chords, which I wasn't. Well, I was, apart from that one chord. But I figured that out. And from that point on, I didn't rely on tab anymore or songbooks. I never really bought another songbook. My last one I bought was the Jimi Hendrix book. After that, I just decided, right, I'm just going to do it by ear. I learned quicker by watching and listening. So I just went by ear after that. So I learn all songs, Chili Peppers and everything now by ear. It takes a long time. One of the songs that took me the longest to learn by ear was Diary of a Madman by Ozzy Osbourne, Randy Rhoads. Especially that intro, that getting all these chords. It took a long time because it was a case of listening to the CD, listening to that first chord, going, right, what's the note? No. It's literally listening to those chords. Right. Pause, rewind, play, pause, rewind, play. So, and just listening and getting those notes, just trying to hear every individual note so you get the right chords. That was probably one of the songs that took me the longest time. Also, Machine Gun by Jimi Hendrix took a long time because there's so much going on. But I would highly recommend learning by ear over tab or chord books to anyone. It develops your ear, which you need more than anything else. It's so important to develop your ear. So I learned songs, the Chili Pepper songs, by ear. I learned my first load though. I kind of like most of the By the Way things and Scar Tissue. and songs like Other Side and that when I first started playing for the first 2-3 years of playing through tab books. But again, like I said, being dyslexic, I struggle with numbers. I'm no good with numbers, and I can't read music because of that. So I really struggle with that. So I was after an easier way for me. You know, I was like thinking there's got to be an easy way, and I found it using my ears and either watching videos or DVDs or whatever I could find, really. And then YouTube came along, and it was just like, wow, this has made things a lot easier. So yeah, I learn all songs through just using my ears, really, and I enjoy it. I enjoy that 10 times more than sitting down with a book and learning from a book and a sheet of paper. I love playing a song and doing that whole thing, like I said, of kind of like, you know, play, pause, rewind, play, pause, rewind. You know, listen, getting, you know, just really diving in there and listening to individual notes to get it right. I remember learning the Blackbird riff by Alter Bridge. I remember that took me quite a fair while to get that riff to figure out. But once you get it and you figured it out by ear, the feeling you get of accomplishment is beyond. You've earned it more than you have reading somebody who's already done the work for you, said Sen. Andy Timmons talks about this a lot, and I feel it's really important with the guitar, or any instrument, is you have to earn how you play. You know what I mean? Like, you know, people can show you how to do things, which is what people should do. They should always guide you in the right direction and point you in the right direction. But it's up for you to put the hours and the days and the years and, you know, all that time in. Because through doing that, you earn these techniques. You earn your ears being able to hear certain things. You earn your fingers responding the way you want to do. You earn the tone you get from the amp. People can do it for you, but at the end of the day, you get more of a better feeling of accomplishment when you kind of like, you know, when you get there yourself. You're like, wow, I did that. You know, I was able to figure that song out note for note just by listening to it. It's an incredible accomplishment for an instrument player to any player of an instrument to do that. It really is cool, and I would recommend it highly to anybody. It's hard, it's frustrating, it will drive you up the wall to a point where you just want to throw the guitar out the window. Not this one. I love this guitar too much, but yeah, it will get to that point, and it will drive you balmy. But the accomplishment and what you earn from it is just beyond anything. It really, really, really is. I mean, I cannot stress that enough. I really cannot stress that enough. It's so important. It's so important. So I would highly recommend learning by ear to anybody, and that's how I learn songs. And, you know, just enjoy it for what it is. The moment you start to get angry at it, go away from it. Leave it, you know, because once you're angry or annoyed or getting agitated at it, you're not going to learn a thing because your brain will shut off. So you've got to be calm, relaxed, and really enjoying it and just dive in head first. So yeah, like I say, yeah, come back to the question. Yeah, tangents. Yeah, I just learned Chili Pepper songs by ear. Like the most recent one I learned by ear was Leverage of Space. Is that the most recent song? Most recent Chili Pepper song? I think, yeah, that is the most recent Chili Pepper song I learned by ear. Yeah, and it's just good fun. Just good fun. I enjoy that whole process, like I say, of play, pause, rewind, repeat, so forth. And it's just cool getting through the song. It's just, I love it. I love that process so much. It's just one of those absolute highlights of playing the guitar for me is learning songs. It is more than sitting down and learning scales and theory and this, that, and the other. Learning songs has always been to me one of the most enjoyable aspects of playing guitar ever. I love learning music. I love learning songs. To understand, like, just to be able to play it and hear it and and then you've got that under your hand. It's just wicked, absolutely wicked, and I love it to bits. And it just makes me really smiley. Oh. Anyway, I'm getting all funny now. Anyway, move on to the last question of the day. I hope that's answered your question on that one. Moving on to question 6, everybody. Final question of the day. I'm getting all gushy about the guitar. But that's what we're here for, isn't it, people of the tube? We're here because we love these things so much. Okay, so, question 6, everybody. Final question of the day. So, question 6 is quite a... Well, it's difficult to answer. It's difficult to answer because of what it is. So, question 6 is, I've recently acquired a sunburst strat and I want to relic it, but the polyurethane finish is quite thick. What can I do? Some polyurethane finish, no matter how much you want to relic it, won't relic. You've got to be aware of what's under the poly as well. Depending on the price bracket of the guitar, you didn't mention if it was a Fender or if it was this, that, and the other. Because I've bought cheap guitars in the past that I thought would be quite cool to relic, and then you realise they're just kind of like, you know, chipboard or MDF, and you think, well, that's not going to relic. It's not going to look good reliced because it's not a good wood. You know what I mean? It hasn't got all the nice figuring. It doesn't have a wood grain. So you've got to be aware of what's when you're relicing a polyurethane guitar. You've got to be aware of what's underneath the poly first before you go at it, because you could start to relic it, get the paint off, and then realise the wood underneath is just terrible, and it just looks horrible, and it just doesn't look right, and then you kind of like, you're not happy because the guitar looks rubbish, and then it makes you kind of not want to play it. We know where that route ends. It's not good. So, what I would recommend is go into the tremolo cavity on the guitar and look at the wood, because the tremolo cavity is always the giveaway in any guitar, cheap to expensive, what the wood of that guitar is. You'll be able to tell if it's chipboard, if it's MDF, or is it older, is it ash, you know, excuse me. What is the wood? And I've got to say, if it's chipboard, and you'll be able to tell because you'll just see it. You know, it'll all be layered. There'll be different layers. It's like a sandwich. Or if it's MDF, then don't relic the guitar. Don't relic. It will not relic. It will look terrible. The poly finish will probably be about that thick, and it's just not worth the effort. I would just leave the guitar as is. You know, or you could lightly relic it just by kind of like, you know, dinging it up here and there, but you can't really do kind of like, you know, arm wear and plectrum wear and buckle rash, because the wood underneath it won't look good, and it also substantially weaken the guitar, especially if it's kind of chipboard. They're not strong in the first place. So MDF guitars are like tanks. You know, MDF guitars are just horrifically heavy and just solid, and they're just, you know, they're just incredible. They're incredible guitars. I mean, some of them sound immense, but they're not good for relicking. You want to leave them where they are. Okay, so that's the first thing I would recommend. Go in the tremolo cavity, have a look what the wood is. Like I say, if it's just plywood or MDF, don't relic it. Leave it. If you do discover it's a proper, you know, it's either an ash or an alder or whatever the body's made out of, it's actually an actual wood, then, but the polyurethane finish is really, really thick, what I would recommend doing is, well, first things first, you need safety goggles. It's really important to wear safety goggles. You don't want polyurethane finish chipping off in your eye. You know, you really don't. It's sharp and it'd be horrific. Okay, so you want to put goggles on, and you want to go for a place that's inconspicuous to relic to start with, to see how thick that polyurethane is. And what I would recommend is a really, really sharp knife, like ridiculously sharp to the point where, you know, if you look at it, it actually cuts you in half. And what you want to be kind of doing is, like, you know, if you go for kind of like arm wear, you just get it and just scrape the finish back until you get to the wood, and just see how long it takes. And is there a really thick clear coat underneath the polyurethane? Because a lot of guitars, cheap guitars, have the finish on top, the sunburst finish on top, and then they'll have a clear coat, and then the wood will be under that. And the sunburst finish is normally quite thin. The polyurethane sunburst finish is normally quite thin. But the clear coat over the wood is ridiculously thick and tough and hard as nails, and you can't get through it. My Rory Gallagher replica Strat that I made about a year or so ago, about a year and a bit ago, that was a Squire Strat, and the sunburst chipped off dead easy. I could just literally just scrape it off. But the clear coat underneath, you could get Thor's hammer, and you wouldn't be able to make a dent in that stuff. It was just absolutely rock solid. So I couldn't actually get down to the wood, so I just stained off the clear coat. Anyway, I do wonder where that guitar is. So yeah, just scrape the guitar, get a really sharp knife, wear eye protection just in case it starts to chip and fly at your face, which again, it probably will do. And just gradually take it down until you get to the wood or the clear coat, depending on what it is. And just see how easy it is to get off. But use a knife and be careful. Don't slice your hands open and get bits in your eye. Really, 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 really be careful. I can't stress that enough, because one slip and you're in trouble. So just take it slow and try that, and just kind of scrape away some arm wear. Another thing though, when you're relicing a guitar, stand up with the guitar first and look where you play. Where does your arm rest on the guitar? There is no point relicing the guitar back here if your arm never touches there, because it's not it's not right. It's not what if you're not playing like that and you're playing like this, you want to be relicing it up here, and you can see there's my arm wear. That's where I play. So stand up with the guitar, look where your plectrum hits the guitar on the body, and where your arm rubs, and then wear that bit away. Don't just go willy-nilly. Look and think about where you come into contact with the guitar before you relic it. There's no good just kind of going, I'll just scrape all this away. It won't look genuine. You know what I mean? It needs to match up where you play. Otherwise it looks silly. It looks like it just looks like you've gone out your way to kind of relic it, so to say. And the whole thing of relicking is, because relicking is ridiculous fun. It really is so much fun. And I know the guitar community is divided on that, but at the end of the day, if it's your guitar, you can do it. If you've paid for it and it's your guitar, you can do what you want to it, regardless of what anybody says. If it's wrong or it's right or whatever, it's your instrument. At the end of the day, it's not theirs. So yeah, stand up, find where you play, and just relic it. Like I say, use a very sharp knife. It has to be really sharp to get through poly. Nitrocellulose, you can look at it in a funny way, in a sharp way, and it'll literally fall off the guitar. That's the look. By the way, just so you know, that's the nitrocellulose falling off look. But polyurethane, you have to scrape it and scrape and scrape and scrape and scrape, and it takes ages, and it's tiring and it's knackering, but it's worth it at the end because you can kind of do it. I need to do a video on this. I haven't got a guitar I can relic with polyurethane finish on at this point in time though. So yeah, just scrape away until you get through the polyurethane and the clear coat to the wood, or scrape down until you get through to the clear coat. Like I said, it's kind of difficult to say because I don't know what the guitar you've got is. You didn't mention the make. So if it's a Squire Affinity or a Squire in general, like I say, most of the time what they'll have is the sunburst will be really thin. And what it'll do is it will chip and flake off fairly easily if you get like a sharp knife to it. Craft knives are brilliant for it because you can really sculpt the wear. But if it's another make, like a cheaper, like another cheap make, like Squire, it could be totally different. So I don't really know, but that's what I'd recommend. Like I say, so check the cavity first, check the tremolo cavity first, see what the wood is. Like I say, if it's chipboard or it's MDF, don't relic the guitar. It will look terrible. Trust me, I've tried. You can't make it look good. So after that, get a knife. Well, after that, play the guitar, look where your body comes into contact with the guitar, where your arm comes in, where the plectrum comes into contact with up here, where you come into contact with the back of the body. When you're sat down, where does this part of the guitar come into contact with your leg? Because guitars wear here as well. You know, and also stuff like, you know, around the edges, you know, here, like you can kind of see, you know, all because I haven't reliced any of this guitar. All the wear you see on the Oswald Strat is natural. I haven't done anything to it. This is all just play wear. So so do that, and then get your sharp knife and just gradually scrape away at the finish and find out what happens. Because the finish will either scrape away clean or it'll start to chip. And if it starts to chip, wicked. If it scrapes away clean, it's a bit more of a nightmare to kind of get the wear to look good. If it chips away, it's dead easy because you can just sculpt it. But yeah, so that would be my advice. I'm going to have to do a video on this one day because it is difficult to relic polyurethane guitars, but it's not impossible. It just depends on what the wood is under the guitar, more than anything. You know, if like I say, if a wood's plywood or MDF, and it's just not worth it because the guitar will look terrible. It won't look like a relic guitar. It just doesn't relic. Polyurethane MDF plywood guitar bodies don't look good, so I would just leave it the way it is. So yeah, that's what I would do. I say tremolo cavity first, then check where you play the guitar, where you come into contact with guitar, and then start relicking those parts and those parts only. You know, you don't want to be relicking a big chunk out here if you never come into contact with that guitar. I think, actually, yeah, I mean, that area on the Oswald Strat, I think, is the only part that doesn't actually have any chips, dints, or dents, or kind of gouges out of it at this point in time. I think everywhere else is kind of a bit dinted and dented from gigging and playing. But, so yeah, that's what I'd recommend, everybody. Well, yes, if you're interested in relicking a polyurethane guitar. So, yeah, I hope that's answered your question. It's not easy to relic a polyurethane guitar at all. It will take you... When I did my Harley Benton bass, and that was a polyurethane finish, that took me 4 days to get to a point where I was like, yeah, I'm happy with that. And again, the Harley Benton bass had a clear coat, which I couldn't get through. The clear coat was too thick, so I left it. So in the Harley Benton video, what you're seeing as wood is actually just clear coat. And the same with the Rory Gallagher Strat I made. That's just clear coat as well. Where the finish isn't, it's just clear coat. But the clear coat does stain off. You can stain clear coat off to a wood colour, and you know you can't tell the difference. It's quite cool. So and also if you get it stained a certain way, you can actually see the wood grain underneath. The Rory Gallagher Strat, you can see the wood grain underneath, which is really, really cool. Okay, so yeah, I hope that's answered your question. I hope I've answered all your questions okay, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this Q&A. Yes. And I'll see you on Friday for another video. I have no idea what it's going to be yet. So, yeah, I'll see you on Friday. I hope I've answered your questions okay. I'm going to go off and worry that I haven't. And, yeah, I will see you on Friday. Have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. Goodbye now.